welcome to my channel where we question everything. Today's topic is politics, especially politics of Europe. And more precise, some politics about Britain. Now, I don't say that I'm a specialist on Britain's politics. In no way am I. But I've been watching now the events that are happening since, well, you can't ignore it. It's always on the news. And I have made a video about this trust, and my views, or you should know at least, I have no confidence in her, and she was actually a disaster for Britain, but yeah, she became Prime Minister. And, well, according to the reports now, she has not days to survive, she has only hours after surviving. Now, I'm not totally sure how that is possible. For me, the whole British political system is a fallacy, devoid of any democratic principles. So let's see what's happening. So after Boris Johnson was basically disgraced by his lying of the parties that he kept when everybody else was locked down, and he kept on partying and not following his own rules, and etc., etc. Liz Truss was elected. Now, it was a leadership race of, I think, 8 people or so. And the final 2 candidates were Liz Truss and Sunak. And those people were voted by the British MPs, and then their names were presented to the Conservative Party members. And then Liz Truss won that race as well, and she got the majority, and she became the new Prime Minister. And then Liz Truss advocated her economic policy. Well, she actually started before the final vote, and she appointed a finance minister or chancellor, and he presented a mini budget a couple of weeks ago, and that was a disaster. The markets didn't like it, and they fell, and everybody was shouting and hoo-ah and going on berserk, and suddenly Liz Truss was unpopular. And now they want her head. What's funny about the whole story is that the MPs voted for her. It's not the first time they ever heard about her economic policies. She made it part of an election campaign, if you want to call it. So to say now, yeah, she's a bad candidate and they didn't know, that's all a lie. But so the majority who voted for her, apparently ones are now gone. Now, I'm not totally sure how that functions. I can say that it's ethical or good politics, or it creates faith in the government, or whatever you want to say. And apart from that, there's in any case apparently a 1922 ruling that says you cannot have a vote of no confidence in any prime minister within the first 9 months. So how can she say she's incompetent if she hasn't even given a chance to prove her competency or not? And now they want to get rid of her because she made a mistake, and to a credit, she acknowledged her mistake. But the people that voted for her, who have now changed their mind for a reason because they don't want to look bad, in effect and by default, have also made an error. So is it now these people's error that is excusable, but the error made by the Prime Minister, who was their candidate, is not acceptable? Well, you judge for yourself how you see it. And Well, that's Liz Truss for a start, and the MPs. And now, what did Liz Truss do to resolve the issue? She was forced a new chancellor. What's his name? Jeremy. Ah, come on, man. I knew it's just his name. Now I forgot his name. I don't know. Ek gaan dit so sny. Jeremy Hunt is reg. She just appointed a new chancellor, which was forced onto her, or Jeremy Hunt, was also, by the way, a candidate, and he came in 8th. He was one of the first ones that was dismissed as a candidate for Prime Minister. So imagine this, that you have the MP select a person, they go do multiple rounds, then the first ones are rejected, so they are low on the list of competencies. Then you go through the process, and then you get to your final candidate, and then you elect him as Prime Minister, and then when he makes a little bit of a mistake, which you knew about because you agreed and actually supported her idea of the economic recovery, then you take the one that first lost. That means the guy in the 8th place to be a chancellor, and to fix the problem or the error that she made, and then by default run the country, and she's just a person in the foreground. She's just a puppet. How does that work? You didn't take the second guy, you didn't take the third guy, you took the last guy to replace her. That makes no sense. All right. So, how can I get rid of her? Well, seems to me if she doesn't feel she hasn't got the support of the MPs and so on, of her party members, then probably she will, out of guilt or out of ethical principles, resign and so on. But she said she's not going to resign. So I'm not totally sure what's going to happen there. But let's say she goes. Then they want to replace her with Sunak. But the Conservative members, there was a poll taken on her. They don't want any of these members. They want a Boris Johnson back. Go figure that. How does that work? How does that work for democracy in Britain? How does that work in ethical behavior? What does it say about the competence of the politicians in Britain? Zero. Sorry to say, zero. If they wanted to behave ethical, then they should have done a general election, snap election. They knew they would have lost, but they lost in any case the faith or the support or the, how you would say, the trust of the people. Might as well get rid of them and take their chance on the opening and start a whole new campaign and new leaders and whatever. But the way that the British are going now, that's not democracy. That's actually a total failure of the political system. So for me, Britain has become a joke, and I'm in South Africa. And I believe our ANC government is a joke, but at this stage, the British are beating the ANC. How more incompetent can you be? How low can you go on the scale? Low, 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 low. And then I'm just going to do a side story a little bit. So if you put on Sky News or any other news, you always hear about the NHS. So yesterday I read an article of a story. So there's one guy that he had some stomach aches or the stomach area, lots of pain and so on, and waited, he can't get a doctor appointment, can't get the doctor appointment, and finally he arrives at the doctor and says, all right, that is my problem. Doctor investigates and says, listen here, my mate, you got cancer, got 6 months left to live, but I can't operate on you because we have got a huge backlog. That's it. Death sentence. So a friend of this guy actually got some money together and sent him on a plane to Romania. So this guy comes to Romania and arrives there, goes to the doctor, and doctor investigates him and says, listen, you got a hernia. I'm sorry, I can't operate you tomorrow because I'm busy, but I'll operate you next in 2 days' time. Now, the NHS is considered the prime asset of the British, or British Isles, if you want to call it. The British system, government. What a farce. Even Jeremy Hunt says so in the question and answers in that House of Commons or wherever they said. They asked him about it. Said, yeah, but the NHS is not going down. We appointed more than 40,000 doctors, additional doctors and stuff like that. 40,000. You know how many people are that? If those 40,000 doctors go into the British NHS system, then they will be bursting out of doctors, and there will be actually a surplus of them. So who's bullshitting who? Well, good luck to the British people. They have my sympathies. They did what they have done over the centuries, and it's now probably payback time. Well, here we go. Germany. And apparently the French are very angry with Germany. But Germany has decided that they're gonna assist companies and people with their high energy prices, and they're gonna effectively put a cap on the energy prices. And the way that they're gonna do it is they're gonna tax. In the previous video, I explained how the energy price is calculated. It's on the highest cost input. In this case, it's gas. So the solar or green energy and coal and nuclear are making huge profits because their input didn't really change that much. So Germany is going to put a tax on these excess profits on these companies to the rate of 90%. So they're going to allow a 10% profit margin for these companies. And they're going to use that money and tax money to subsidize companies and the population with their high energy prices, and thereby lowering the cost of energy to the population, and hopefully that will benefit. Now, the French are very, very angry about this. How can Germany do something like that without consulting the French? And even Brussels is up in arms. Why didn't the Germans discuss the matter with Ursula von der Leyen and the energy ministers of EU? Now, are you hearing the language? Germany cannot even decide for itself how to alleviate the plight of their people without asking the permissions of France and the other members of the EU, especially the EU leaders. Is there any form of sovereignty still left? If a country can't even decide on this thing, when everybody knows that Germany is the hardest hit by the energy and the gas prices, and then the French are going to tell the Germans what to do and not to do, and Brussels is going to tell Germany what to do and not to do. Does that mean any form of democracy still left in Europe? Hasn't Brussels now become authoritarian? Well, I'm asking you. Think about it. And according to Borrel, he said West Europe and America is the Garden of Eden, the rest of the world is a jungle. But then you have to ask yourself, what I just described, do you still believe you are living in the Garden of Eden? Because the jungle has these kinds of rules. There you still got sovereignty. And if you're democratic elected government or system, then you still have a democratic system and society. But it doesn't look like Europe has it anymore. But this is only part of the story. So what did Germany actually do? Democracy, capitalism. What does it mean? Is it defined? And then you ask yourself, what is socialism? And you can look up the definition for communism. In socialism is where the government, private property is private property. That is given in a socialist country, but in the communist party it's not. Communist system. In a capitalist system, property is property. Ownership is protected. I'm not going to compare now communism. A capitalist is a free market system. Democracy is where every person's right is protected and where everybody can decide for himself what to do, given the boundaries, the laws of the land, which is fine. And capitalism is on supply and demand and capital forces, and you earn what you are supposed to be earning for the value that you add. And well, we know it's skewed, but that's a theoretical principle. But what socialism means is that the government will decide where the resources are spent. It will tell industry what to do, what products they must manufacture, where they should be manufactured, and at what cost they must do it. That is one of the characteristics of a socialistic government. Now, all countries in the world are partially socialistic because we pay taxes, and your taxes is put into a pool, which is the income to the government, and the government decides what to do with that income taxes pool, and then they build roads and schools and stuff like that. So it's a part of a socialistic system, but we don't see it like that in general terms, but effectively, per definition, it is. But then the governments don't, everything is not socialistic. There is a lot of democracy and capitalism. But what does it mean that if the German government selects the energy companies and put the tax on them, which is nothing more than a rule, a control measure, that these guys can only make a 10% profit. And then the government takes that extra money and then funds or alleviates the plight of the people. Have you listened carefully? Isn't that socialism? Isn't that full-blown socialism? Isn't that when the government decides what companies can do and not do? And what is done with the resources? Even the annexation or the nationalization of Gazprom's storage facilities and pipelines, those are all nationalization. That is socialism. Capitalism is destroyed by those means. So are the Europeans still think they live in this Garden of Eden? Because the people, the countries in the jungle, in a democratic system, like in South Africa, don't do that. So to just to say, so I am South Africa, even have more democratic rights than the people in Europe. How's that for a change? In any case, I thought I'd tell you the story. There's going to be a lot more development. Like I said, the European Union is becoming more and more authoritarian federation state. No, they're not even federations. They're going to be even worse off than Americans with the central government, political, economically, everything. The funniest thing is about is that all the old countries like Germany, Netherlands, France, they all take it. You know, there's a lack of word, but I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to say it. But then we have the East Bloc countries, and they're not taking it. You can see in the behavior of Poland and Hungary and Bulgaria and so forth. And Turkey, well, Turkey is not part of EU, but there's some nice developments. Oh, I actually forgot. It seems to me that Meloni from Italy is probably going to follow the same route of destroying its own country, and all the promises, election promises, will probably be destroyed, because Berlusconi or whatever his name is, in a private conversations, said that he doesn't understand Ukraine, and why don't they make peace with Russia? And it was the NK Zay that denied the existence or the survivability of the Donbass by the Minsk agreement, and if they had done that, then there wouldn't have been a war and all that other stuff. But now that sort of private conversation has been leaked out. And then Meloni said, but no person, well, she is fully committed to NATO and fully committed to the EU, and she will not tolerate any partner, which means coalition partner, that doesn't support NATO and doesn't support EU. So Berlusconi can probably have a nice face on his mask on his face and say ja, amen to Meloni, and then we will see. But at the end of the day, if you cling to NATO principles and cling to EU, then you are destined to fail and to collapse. And since Germany is being deindustrialized, that probably will also be the fate of Italy. And so, as you can say the poor Germans, you can might as well say the poor Italians. They thought they elected somebody that's going to be strong and powerful, and and it seems to me she's probably going to be a disappointment as well. But we will give her a chance and let her prove us that we were wrong. Well, that's some food for thought that you can consider. I've come to the end of today's speech or video. If you like what you heard, press the like button, subscribe to the channel, tell your friends about the channel. Hopefully I can provide you with some insight or knowledge, or at least the idea of questioning everything, and makes you think. Think for yourself. So until next time, cheers.